right back into 5, into 8, breaks that, enters the inner Bollinger Band, hits the mean. We know this now. And then if everything goes well, hits a lower inner Bollinger Band. And if it can bounce around here, there's a super trend forming here, so it should bounce around somewhere around this number, 40, 4250, somewhere around this number, 4256 to 4250. So it should bounce somewhere around this number. Maybe looking for an ephemeral bounce, and after that, most likely it has to come back into this number right here. It has solid support, and after that, most likely 4246 to 4250 to 4240. That's the range that you're looking for it to come back into and bounce off of that range. And this is still overbought on the 4 hour, so I think it should get resolved somewhere around here on 4250 to 4240 lines. Uh, let's see how that goes there. And on the daily, I think the uptrend is still intact. So this 4240 will act as some sort of a solid support here. And I'll look for a bounce there. If a failed bounce, then we're looking for a push into 4240, 4213, rather 4200, and then perhaps a push below into 4150. We bounced off of 4150 yesterday, and that we might test those numbers again. You can't just bounce out of nowhere, and you can't. Uh, that doesn't happen. And theoretically speaking, that shouldn't happen. Uh, the U.S. 10-year should push up with a rate hike, and that has to happen, and that should put a dent on the tech at least. So look for a push down into 4240 and 4250. A failed bounce there will put pressure on the indices. And let's look at uh, SPX real quick. So yesterday, yesterday we were looking for a push from 4250, basically. Basically somewhere around here. Right? So this was probably the number. Where is that number? 4250, somewhere around here. During the day, it was hitting these super trend or something around here. Yeah, right about here. So we were looking for this push up from here, and we were looking to for it to end up here, 4173 or something. And it kind of kept going after that. And FOMC release came here. It did all of this doji thing and then ran up. So I think we kind of caught this bounce from here, 4156 or something, up into 4172, somewhere around here. And so this bounce happened around here, 4150. So I think if it comes back into there, into that number and check with that number, that would be nice to have. If not, I'll still be going off of this chart. If the if it were to open right now, the markets were to open right now, I think it would be trading at around 42, somewhere around here. Somewhere around here. Where is SPY? I don't know. What is SPY? Where is SPY? 424. So about here, 425, somewhere around here. It will be trading somewhere around here. So that means it has come back into it. So it has to come back into its 21. So 4220 is still valid. So the base case to the downside would be 4240. And then if that breaks, it 4226, and the mean is sitting here, 4211. So, and on the Heikanashi, I think it's a little lower. So let's call it, so let's put it this way. 4240 is the base case to the downside. Then 4200 is a good to have to the downside. Should that break, we will test 4199. Then most likely we'll push back into 4180. or 41.89. Not plotting anything below this number just yet, below 41.80, but there's a very good chance if that breaks, we'll try and test these numbers, 41.50 from yesterday. I don't know if I would take Fed's word for it, saying that the recession, they don't see a recession and whatnot, but we know there's a recession coming. We know the GDP has contracted, from the last report that we saw. So we know all of this stuff. We have all the data points. I don't know what the Fed is seeing, but uh, yeah, look at things for what they are, not what they are telling you to look at, right? So look at the way that your household, what you're experiencing with your wallet. So go by that, what you're experiencing with your wages and versus what you're experiencing with your expenses. So go by that. Whatever the Fed can say, whatever they can say, right? But this is what we are seeing here. And miraculously, I don't know, the 10-year is still not above the three. So that's just weird. And I would have expected that to hit, blast through the 3 point, probably around 3.1 to 3.5. That hasn't happened. So financials are suffering. Financials should have been way more up. Financials should have been leading the market, but they are not. So there's something off here. Might be the recession fears, might be the 10 year coming back below 2 year. So I don't know what is going on there. So in the future, probably about the summer or something, we can look for that, whatever the slowdown in the housing sector, then we can probably talk about recession in a meaningful manner. Now let's come back to right. So this is the uh, downside path that we just started. To the upside, 43.33 or 43.30, whatever this number is, to the upside. This is my base case. Should that clear, then we look for a push into 43.72, plotting nothing beyond that number just as of now. There's a good chance for 43.90, but not really plotting. So base case to the upside is 43.30, and beyond that, 43.72. There should be if it clears 43.30 right here and it starts to push, then the mean here will act as some sort of a solid resistance, 43.45. If that clears, then we are good to hit that 43.74 number. That's how I want to play to the upside. We have the downside, and let's push and let's look into Apple. This is what is Apple doing, and this was pretty much sitting there. This move had to come back down, and this is one of the major reasons that the SPY is coming down or Qs are coming down. It hit a high there, and it had to come back down into 164. This is acting as some sort of a solid support here. The reason is the this one right here. So this is the reason. Yesterday, this was acting as a resistance point, 164 or something. Now it is acting as support. And if it breaks below the 200 moving average on the hourly, then we can look for a push down into 162 and perhaps into the mean on the 1 hour that is sitting at about 162 or something. So look for that. Look for that push down. And it is the conditions are there for it to come back down. The 200 on the 1 hour will act as solid support. If it breaks, then look for a push down on the markets. And if the push down is accompanied by Microsoft, then yeah, we are going to go down very nicely into this 162, 160, 150, and perhaps into 160.40 and beyond. So this whole cycle needs to complete. But really not really plotting anything major right now. So, but that tune, I might change my tune based on how Apple behaves below its 200 on the 1 hour. This chart is not really significant here, but yeah, this is the line that it was. I was expecting it to hit this thing yesterday, the super trend on the 4 hour, but it not happened. So I exited my whole position here towards the end of the day. I exited my whole short, long, everything. Right. So to the upside, we know if it continues to the upside, Then the same trajectory here, 164.86, then a hit of 165.50, then push into this 166.657. And ultimately, if it goes here, I think this should be the top of it, 167, 167.20, around that number. It should be the top. I don't believe it's going to go beyond that as of where things stand. Let's plot Tesla. And momentum, the sentiment you can gauge pretty much by looking at Tesla chart, and the momentum you can pretty much gauge which way from looking at Apple and Microsoft. Right, so that's just how that you want to play that. Right here, again, this was pretty much, it had to come back down. It is coming back down, and so the 1 hour chart is still intact here to come back down and at least push into its eight. Why is here Tesla right here? So coming back into, we know this by now, gets overbought, comes back into five, then five breaks, comes back into eight. Of course, this doesn't happen in a straight line. Any moving average it touches, it will bounce, and then it will, if there is a momentum to the downside, which in this case it is, the averages are pointing down. So expecting a push down into 940, that breaks, then we're looking for 929. The mean is sitting at 922. So there is some solid support around all of these areas for Tesla till 904. If it breaks below 900, then we are looking for a push, a continual push into why 904. This is the reason, right? So this has solid support all throughout right here. 938, it has support, then it has support at 922, then it has support at 908. So these are all support regions. Any major moving average it's going to hit, it will act as pretty solid support. 50 would act as very solid support around 939. Then below that, the 8 would act as support. Then below that, you have 200. This should be the absolute, if it can't hold above its 200 on the daily, then we are looking for a push down from there. And if Tesla goes south, then that means market sentiment is soured, and we will follow Apple then to the downside. So that's how I want to play Tesla to the downside. Of course, upside is still the same trajectory. If it clears the mean here around 955, then we're looking for, sorry, if it clears the 100 here around 955, 957, then we look for a push into the mean, 975. And if Apple catches fire beyond 167, then Tesla will be hitting 1,000 today, around 997 to 1,000. So, but Apple needs to, Apple needs to push for that. Without Apple pushing, none of this will happen, either to the upside or to the downside. It doesn't matter. All the other stocks go, whichever way they want to go. But Apple pushes down a couple of dollars, then yeah, the markets will push down at least 40 points, just based on that. And if Microsoft accompanies with that, yeah, add more to it. So watch for that. And if they want to hold the market up, they're just going to buy Apple, and the market will be held up pretty decent. Microsoft. Okay, this is what I'm looking for on Microsoft. The upward trajectory is still intact. The story is still intact for Microsoft, and the push into 293 is what we're looking for. To the upside, if that happens, then we will reassess the situation. But if it that, so that is right about here, 293. So 293 will act as some sort of a decent resistance for Microsoft. And if it can clear that, then we have a clear shot at about 300 and 304. So this should not be a problem for Microsoft to clear if it actually indeed pushes above 293. And to the downside, Microsoft, uh, if it starts to push down, this is all available. This will act as support all the way through. The downside is pretty right here. So it got overbought, came right back into its five, came right back into its eight. Of course, it will try to bounce here. Then there's a super trend supporting this price action. If it doesn't bounce there, then you're looking for a push into its 200, around 284. Most likely this will get tested and this will act as solid support here. And if this support breaks, then we are looking for a push into the mean. Then perhaps we are looking for a push below 280. That's how I want to play Microsoft to the downside. That means if both of them come down, Qs are going to get fucked again. Um, and Qs, nobody believed in the rally yesterday. It was just short. It must have started with short covering, and then I did not believe that rally yesterday at all. I was bearish on VIX, and I'm still bearish on VIX, but I'm not bullish on the markets. I am definitely, by default, let's say by default, I had to be bullish on the markets, but given a choice, I am not a buyer of this market. So let's see this thing, VIX here. Uh, got pretty oversold here. Yeah, this again, we know this. Yesterday night in the charting session, we were talking about this. Back up into its five, back up into its eight. Should and then I'm expecting that to clear and come back into its 200. Test this to a 27 number. If that clears there, then we're looking for a clear push into 27.45, and that's the mean, and we'll reassess the situation here, 27.55. With that clear, then I think we should be pushing up into 30s. But for now, I'm just looking at a clearance of 200 on the daily for VIX. And if that clears, then we're looking for a push into 27.47. That's the mean, rather 27.50. So this is the number that I'm looking for. And we'll reassess the situation after this. And to the downside, if it's unable to clear that number, then we are looking for a pushback into 24.64. And for now, at least for now, I think it should come back up. But looking at the daily chart, and I believe that push to the upside should be ephemeral and should come back into this number 24.70 or something. So, which is the 100 on the 4 hour. And should that break, then we're looking for a solid support around 24.38. A big fight should come for VIX here. Then probably it should push down into 21. So plotting, expecting nothing of that sort right now. The immediate thing that I think we should be looking for a VIX kind of bounce here, at least ephemeral bounce, try to go back into its 200 on the 1 hour chart. And here, if you look at the daily chart, the VIX has created a gap between the price and and its supporting moving average. It has nothing. It is holding on to nothing besides the mean here. So the five needs to either come back down, or the price of VIX needs to push up. So that's the reason I'm looking for a push up in the on VIX. 26.76. Yeah, we'll take that. We'll reassess the situation after that. Right now, yeah, it should run into resistance, and we'll reassess the situation after that. Check Walmart. Okay, let's see Walmart. Okay, Walmart on the weekly, it is starting to come back down, and rightly so. Right, it is bouncing off of these numbers. It did bounce off this number yesterday, I believe. So I think if the upward trend continues, it should push into its mean around 155.75. Again, this would happen only if Apple starts to push up. Uh, Granted that this is a consumer staple sort of a stock, but if the broader market starts to come back down, then even this stock has to come back down alongside the broader markets. And it wasn't able to reach this number 155, even though with the big rally, it did not reach its super trend here. So it should have happened. So that means there was weakness in the stock as well. But right now, you're looking at the chart, it should come back down into its 21, right about here, 153. And should that break, the mean is, yeah, 153. 153 will happen for this. And should that break, we're looking for a hit of lower inner Bollinger Band. And should that break, we're looking for a push into 151. Yeah, there is a bit of room to the downside. Most likely, yeah, probably about here. You can make the case that it's going to come back into this 150, 150 number. And if it can come back into that number, we'll look for a test of this super trend again. If that breaks, then we're looking for a push into this number 149.82. I believe if it can come down here till 149.82, then there is a very good chance that it will come back into 149.15 or something like that. So basically, if this super trend breaks, then you're looking for a push into say this super trend on 49.15, and the downside is still intact here, right? So the daily MACD is still intact here. So let's see how this goes. And again, a whole lot depends on Apple and Microsoft. So if right now the Apple is trying to come back into its 1 hour mean and whatnot, we all know how that works out. So let's see if Apple can test its mean here, rather test its 200-day and what happens here. And if it breaks below that, then it will drag the market down with it. If it bounces off of it, we can look for a push, continued push to the upside. So yeah, on the broader markets, we did short this, but I'll just go over that again. This is the number that I'm looking for my base case to the upside, 43. Well, it's not, no, no, no. Right now, 4250, let's say 4250, then this would become the base case, 4300. 4300 would become the base case to the upside. And if that clears, then we look for 4330 would be good to have. And to the downside, where is that number? Yeah, to the downside, about 4240 is my base case. And should that break, then we're looking for a push into 4100. Sorry, 4200. That's how I want to play. And below 4200, if the market starts to push down there, then we look for a push into 4170. So that's how I want to play it to the upside and to the downside. Anybody has anything in particular that you want to talk about? There you go. Finally, fuck. 3 years is about. Thank you for that, Rob. I was not looking at that. About three. Finally, I am looking for a continued push in 10 year. You're welcome, Matt. I'm looking for a continued push in the 10 year. That means at least the financial sector should do good. But if Apple comes back down, which looks like it will, then it will drag everything alongside with it. And I will be looking to play Qs more than this thing, SPY, because interest rates, Qs, and TNA, or RUT, for that matter, RUT and the Qs, NASDAQ, are more sensitive to interest rates rather than this thing, SPY or so I think this is the trajectory. I don't know where it is trading right now. I don't have Nasdaq futures with me, but this is where the trajectory is. One hour chart, for 1 hour chart, it has to come back into 12,880, then should come back into 12,800, and probably push back into 12,730. So this is the trajectory to the downside. So let's see if we can break below 12,878. And if that breaks, then we're looking for a clean shot at 12,800. That's how I want to play that. And if that breaks, then we're looking for a clean shot into 12,730. That's how I want to play NASDAQ. And there's a super trend sitting right here at 12,700. So looking for a bounce around that area and then a follow through to the downside if Apple comes back in. And to the upside, the so to the upside, again, where we close, this will become the base case at 12,960 or 12,950. If that breaks, then we're looking for a push above into 13,100, and the mean is sitting at around 13,150. Not really plotting anything beyond that. So if we can get back to 12,950, that would be a good. That would be the base case. Then beyond that, probably 13,100 should be where it should end, or rather top out. So for this to happen, Apple should continuous push to the upside and hit its super trend around 167 or something. All right, so we got that game plan going. All right, so let's uh, Yeah, I'll have, I'll be keeping an eye on all of that data points, and I'm also testing out a new indicator. If that works out, we will, get it out, and you can test it out again. But for now, I am looking at how it works. So let's see. All right, guys. So anything, if anybody has anything in particular, any data points, uh, go ahead and speak. If not, we'll go back into sanity and let's start the fight.